He told me I was replaceable. Those exact words pierced deeper than the betrayal itself the night I caught him cheating with a woman he met at his own company's event. I remember standing outside his apartment in the pouring rain, humiliated, heartbroken, and convinced my world had just ended. But here's what he never saw coming. I refused to let his betrayal define me. I rebuilt my life piece by piece, turned my heartbreak into ambition, and now, his company's logo carries my name. He can't escape my success, and I never even had to seek revenge. I used to believe our relationship was unshakable. For 3 years, I stood by him through every late night, every work crisis, and every moment he needed someone to cheer him on. I was the one who brought him coffee when he pulled all-nighters, proofread his presentations, and reminded him to eat when he was too busy chasing promotions. To me, he was the love of my life. To him, I was his safe place. At least, that's what I thought. When his career started to take off, I couldn't have been prouder. He'd landed a position at a rapidly growing tech company, and every week seemed to bring a new accomplishment. But with success came a change I couldn't ignore. He became sharper, more impatient, and sometimes even arrogant. He brushed off my small victories as if they were trivial, saying things like, "That's cute," when I talked about my own projects. I told myself it was just stress, that he was under pressure to perform, but deep down, I felt the distance growing. The night everything shattered began with what was supposed to be a celebration. His company was hosting a big event for a new product launch, and he invited me along. I spent hours picking out a dress, wanting to make him proud. When I arrived, the room was buzzing with energy, champagne, flashing cameras, and people in sleek suits. I searched for him through the crowd, but he was nowhere in sight. Finally, I spotted him near the corner, laughing with someone. At first, I smiled, thinking he was just networking. But as I got closer, my heart sank. His hand rested on the lower back of a woman I had never met, and the way he leaned in, whispering something that made her giggle, told me everything I needed to know. I froze, unsure if my mind was playing tricks on me. But then he kissed her. Not a polite, passing kiss, an intimate, lingering one that turned my blood cold. The music, the chatter, the laughter around me blurred into a dull roar as I stood there, holding my clutch like a lifeline. I didn't even remember walking out of the building, but suddenly I was outside, standing in the rain under the glowing city lights, shaking with shock. When he finally came out and saw me, he didn't even flinch. I stammered something, asking how he could do this to me, and he just stared, almost bored. Then he said the words that would echo in my mind for weeks, "You're replaceable." He didn't beg, he didn't apologize, he didn't even pretend to care. He turned his back and walked away, leaving me drenched, humiliated, and hollow. That night, it felt like my entire world had collapsed. I had given him everything, my love, my time, my loyalty, and in one cruel moment, he made me feel like I was nothing at all. The days after that night blurred together into a haze of pain. I barely left my apartment, living off cereal and takeout, the curtains drawn tight against the sunlight. My phone buzzed constantly, friends checking in, my mom leaving worried voicemails, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. I felt empty, like someone had carved out the part of me that believed I was worth loving. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him leaning in to kiss her, and worse, I heard his voice telling me I was replaceable. I deleted social media after seeing photos from the company event plastered everywhere, his arm slung casually around her shoulder in one of them. It was like the world had moved on without me, while I was stuck in my heartbreak. Days turned into weeks, and I stopped recognizing myself in the mirror. The girl who used to laugh easily and dream big now looked like a ghost, eyes dull and puffy from crying. Eventually, my best friend Sophie barged into my apartment, armed with coffee and tough love. "You can't let him do this to you," she said, shoving the cup into my hands. "He doesn't get to ruin your life just because he's a jerk." My mom echoed the same sentiment over the phone, reminding me that I had always been talented and driven, even before him. But every compliment bounced off me. I couldn't shake the memory of him mocking me months earlier when I'd told him I wanted to launch my own design studio someday. A studio? Babe, that's cute, he'd said with a smirk. But it's more of a hobby, isn't it? Real money is in corporate work, not doodling. I had laughed it off at the time, but deep down, it stung. He never really believed in me, and now that he was gone, his words echoed louder than ever. One night, I hit my lowest point. I sat on the floor of my bedroom surrounded by old sketchbooks, pages filled with ideas I'd abandoned because I thought they weren't good enough. I cried until my chest hurt, grieving not just the relationship but the version of myself I had lost. And then, something inside me shifted. I realized that if I stayed broken, he would win. His voice would define me, and I would live out the story he wrote for me, replaceable, forgettable, small. The next morning, I opened my laptop and started working again. My hands shook as I sketched new designs, rough and imperfect, but mine. I signed up for an online business course and reached out to an old mentor for advice. Every small step felt like climbing out of a deep pit, but with each one, I felt a spark of the old me returning. I wasn't healed yet, but for the first time since that night, I believed I could be. The first few weeks of working on myself felt like moving through quicksand. Every morning, I had to force myself out of bed, remind myself that I had a purpose, and fight the urge to crawl back under the covers where heartbreak couldn't reach me. But little by little, I turned my pain into fuel. I started by clearing the clutter in my apartment, creating a small workspace by the window with nothing but my laptop, a sketchpad, and a stubborn determination to start over. My dream had always been to launch my own design studio, but I had let his voice convince me it wasn't worth pursuing. Now, every time I felt doubt creep in, I heard him calling my passion a hobby, and it lit a fire in me. I signed up for online design workshops, scoured YouTube tutorials, and spent hours reading about marketing and branding. Nights bled into mornings as I taught myself how to turn raw creativity into a viable business. There were moments I wanted to give up, when a logo design I thought was perfect got rejected, or when I stared at a blank page with no inspiration, but I pushed through, fueled by equal parts anger and hope. My first breakthrough came 2 months later. I nervously uploaded a simple post of one of my logo designs on social media, just to see if anyone would notice. To my surprise, it went semi-viral overnight, with people commenting how unique and professional it looked. Someone even messaged me asking if I took commissions. My heart raced as I typed back, yes, even though I was terrified. That first client was a small bakery looking for a rebrand, and when I delivered the final logo, they raved about it online. Their post tagged me, and suddenly, I had 3 new inquiries waiting in my inbox. From that point on, the momentum built slowly but surely. I spent late nights juggling projects, designing logos, creating mock-ups, and learning how to invoice properly. I upgraded from my tiny desk to a proper home office, and for the first time in years, I felt alive. Each small win added a brick to the wall of confidence I was rebuilding. By the time I got my 10th client, I no longer heard his voice in my head. Instead, I heard my own, whispering, "You can do this." Beyond the work itself, the emotional transformation was even more powerful. I started going out again, not to chase love, but to reconnect with friends, to laugh without the weight of his shadow over me. I began to appreciate the quiet victories, finishing a project on time, receiving heartfelt client feedback, or simply waking up excited to create. Slowly, I realized I didn't need him or anyone else to validate me. I wasn't replaceable, because I was building something that was entirely mine, something no one could take away. 3 months after I started my studio, I officially registered it as a business. I remember holding the certificate in my hands, my name printed in bold letters, and feeling a swell of pride I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't about proving him wrong anymore, it was about proving myself right. My pain had become my power, and for the first time since that rainy night, I felt free. 6 months after I officially launched my design studio, everything began to accelerate. My inbox was full of inquiries, my social media following had quadrupled, and I had projects lined up for weeks in advance. My work was featured in a small online magazine highlighting independent designers, and for the first time, I felt like my name meant something in the industry. Every time I signed a new client, I thought back to the girl who had been left standing in the rain, and I silently thanked her for not giving up. One morning, while sipping coffee at my desk, I noticed an email that nearly made me spill my cup. The sender was his company. My stomach twisted as I read the subject line, "Partnership Opportunity." At first, I thought it had to be a mistake, but curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked it open. Their marketing team had apparently come across my work online and was impressed by my design style. They were rebranding a product line and wanted to collaborate with me to create a fresh, modern logo and visual identity. I read the email 3 times, barely believing it. My heart raced with a mix of shock and exhilaration. Out of all the designers they could have chosen, they had unknowingly reached out to me, the woman he had dismissed as replaceable. After a moment of frozen disbelief, a laugh slipped out of my mouth. Life had just handed me the most poetic twist imaginable. When we finalized the deal, I learned something that sent chills down my spine. My logo concept would not only appear on their product line, but my name would be incorporated into the branding. It wasn't just a collaboration, it was a co-branded release, and my studio's name would appear alongside their company logo. I sat there staring at the confirmation email, my hands trembling. The girl who had once felt invisible would now have her name printed on their packaging, their advertisements, and even their website. The first time I saw a mock-up of the logo, my chest swelled with disbelief and pride. It was beautiful, sleek, and modern, everything I had worked toward, and there, in clean bold letters, was my studio's name. I imagined him walking into his office and seeing my work on the presentation screen, my name on the proposal documents, and I couldn't help but smile. I didn't send him a message or make a scene. I didn't need to. Just knowing that he would see my success woven into the company he valued more than me was enough. The world had come full circle, and I hadn't had to lift a finger to make it happen. My triumph was quiet, elegant, and undeniable. The day the collaboration went public was surreal. Social media buzzed with excitement as the company unveiled their new branding. My logo, paired with their name, was everywhere, on sleek product packaging, glossy ads, and even a massive banner outside their headquarters. My phone lit up with messages from friends and clients congratulating me, but one notification stopped me cold. It was a message from him. First came the typing dots, then the single line, "Wow, I saw the launch. I don't even know what to say." A few minutes later, another, "I'm proud of you. I didn't realize how talented you were." And finally, "Can we talk?" I stared at my screen, but I felt nothing. No anger, no longing, no urge to reply. Just a calm, quiet satisfaction. For months, I had imagined what I might say if he ever came crawling back, but now, words weren't necessary. My success was louder than anything I could ever text him. Later that week, I attended the official launch event. I caught sight of him across the room, his eyes widening when he saw me standing next to the banner that bore my name. He didn't approach, maybe he didn't know how, but I didn't need him to. I smiled, posed for photos, and soaked in the moment that belonged entirely to me. Walking out of that event, I finally understood the truth. I didn't need revenge or closure. My life itself was the answer. He had called me replaceable, but now, my name was unforgettable. Life has a funny way of revealing who truly wins in the end. He once told me I was replaceable, yet today, his company literally carries my name. I never had to chase revenge or beg for his validation. I simply rebuilt myself until the world couldn't ignore me. If anyone ever makes you feel small, remember this: your success, your growth, and your happiness are the loudest answers you can give. Sometimes, the sweetest justice is living a life they can never escape.